Known for their poofy afros and black leather suits, the Black Panther Party was one of the most iconic organizations in the 20th century. Following a system of racial segregation justified by Jim Crow laws, which helped justify white supremacist groups such as the KKK, the 1960s was a time of turbulence and great change. The 1964 Civil Rights Act marked the installation of one of America's most iconic legislation amendments, along with the 1965 Voter Registration Act, which gave all Americans access to the democratic process. But it did not mark the end of racial tension in America. The Black Panther Party for Self-Defense became the most widely known black political group of the late 1960s. It gained support from urban young blacks who wore black leather jackets and black berets and often displayed weapons. It emerged as a splinter group from the main civil rights movement headed by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It was a political organization manifested from the vision of Huey P. Newton, who was the seventh son of a Louisiana family transplanted to Oakland, California. Newton gathered a few of his longtime friends, including Bobby Seale and David Hilliard, and developed a skeletal outline for this organization. In 1967, the Black Panther Party dropped for self-defense from its title, but established an ideology drawn from Marxism, Leninism, and revolutionary movements from Asia and Africa. The work that influenced the group the most was Frantz Fanon's 1965 Wretched of the Earth. Accusing the government of brutalizing poor black communities and claiming the right to arm themselves in self-defense, the Black Panther Party's ideals and activities were seen to be so radical, it was one time described by FBI Chief Edgar Hoover as the greatest threat to the internal security of the United States. But for many African Americans at the time, they contributed towards Afrocentric cultural phenomena with terms such as Black Power and pride in Black and African identities.
This brother here, myself, all of us were born with our hair like this, and we just wear it like this because it's natural, because the reason for it, you might say, is like a new awareness among black people that their own natural appearance, physical appearance, is beautiful and is pleasing to them. For so many, many years, we were told that only white people were beautiful. Only straight hair, light eyes, light skin was beautiful. And so black women would try everything they could, straighten their hair and lighten their skin to look as much like white women.
In all, the Black Panther Party was committed to dismantling institutional racism. To do this, however, led to what made them a distinctive and controversial group: their commitment to self-defense against violent law enforcement with the use of guns.
The people in Mississippi, as well as Mississippi, New York, and elsewhere, know that freedom comes to us either by ballots or by bullets.
Much of this thinking was influenced by Malcolm X, whose time in the Nation of Islam was marked by the separation of black and white communities.
The long-awaited decision in the Huey Newton murder trial, which has drawn worldwide attention, is now very near. The jury of 7 women and 5 men are deliberating the fate of the Black Panther leader on the 8th floor of that building. It is their job to decide whether he is guilty of killing Oakland policeman John Fry and wounding Officer Herbert Haynes in a pre-dawn shootout last October 28th.
On October the 8th, 1967, the development of the group was affected by Newton's arrest and imprisonment on murder charges of a police officer.
The decision of the jury.
However, without Newton's leadership, the early 70s saw the group weakened by external attacks, legal challenges, and internal schisms. In In 1970, Newton was released in prison and focused on social welfare programs such as free breakfast programs, free medical care, and after-school schemes teaching Black history. These efforts, however, were negated by charges against the Panthers involving assaults against other Blacks. And thus, the group became ineffective by the mid-70s. It's been 50 years on since they first formed as a political group, and for many Black Americans, racial inequality today is still a prevalent problem. At a time when people chant Black Lives Matter, people this weekend will reflect on the group's legacy and importance in their fight for total equal rights. Adama Minu, Africa This Week.